And evening, John.
Evening, Nathan.
So, Manchester City through to the Champions League final. They demolished Real Madrid last night. Sensational first half performance. A couple of goals from Bernardo Silva, and then the goals from Akanji and Alvarez. A 4-0 win on the night, 5-1 on aggregate. It's been described as maybe the best performance by an English club in European football ever. Was it that good?
Well, it was very good, Nathan. I can't go back that far. But it was a brilliant performance, there's no doubt. They played them off the pitch. They made them look a poor team, Nathan. You know, they were in at them all the time to give them any chance. Even Modric, you know, one of my favourites anyway, couldn't get a kick of the ball. It was really, really good. It made it look to me as if Real Madrid weren't trying.
Which,
you know what I mean?
In a Champions League semi-final, you always are. So how did Manchester City do that?
Well, first of all, when they had possession of the ball, they were brilliant, didn't give it away. And when they didn't have possession of the ball, they got after the ball, Nathan, the way you would dream of a team getting after the ball when the opposition had it. So they gave them no room whatsoever. And obviously scored the goals. You know, Silva come in, scored two really good goals, which justified all the hard work and made it very, very difficult for Real Madrid to get back into the game in any way whatsoever.
Silva's one of those players we probably take his brilliance for granted. There's bigger superstars in that Manchester City side, but what is it that he brings to that City team?
Well, I think he should be in the team all the time. Now, I know Guardiola rests players quite rightly as well, but he would be definitely in my first pick in these big matches. His control is very good. His work rate is good, Nathan. Actually, his control is terrific. He's only a small guy compared to some of the others, but he never gives the ball away, or very, very seldom, because he can hold on to it. He can pull it inside, outside, go past people, use it when it's simple as on, and gets his fair share of goals, Nathan. I mean, I'd have him in the team all the time if I was a Manchester City manager. Apart from resting them, of course, when they have a lot of matches.
Yeah,
top notch.
From what you're saying there, is as brilliant as Pep Guardiola is tactically, actually, it was attitude last night as much as anything. They were relentless, the way they pressed, and also the way maybe when they didn't make a very early breakthrough in the game, that they just kept going. You know, in the first 20 minutes the goal wasn't there, that actually there was no drop off at any stage.
No. All the great teams do that, Nathan. You know, the goalkeeper was brilliant again for Real Madrid. I mean, he's an outstanding goalkeeper. Made some terrific saves before they scored. But, you know, in Silva's case, he's like all the top-class players, they keep at it, Nathan. You know, if things are not going so well, and they were going really well for him, they just keep at it all the time. Attitude. I mean, you mentioned Pep. I mean, I think Pep, at times over the last year or two, has made a few mistakes in playing players in certain positions, or trying it out this way or trying it out that way. You know, I think when you've got the players that he has, it's not that complicated, in my opinion. You play your best players in your best position, and then the attitude is the thing that matters. But the top players, in my experience, have the attitude. Like last night, as you said, the goalkeeper was very good, but they kept at it. I think they slumped off a little bit in the second half, allowed Madrid to come in for a short while, and then got back at them again, Nathan. So I think a few times over the years, I think Pep has tried certain things, like the European Cup final a couple of years ago against Chelsea. He played without a midfield version, but he didn't take any chances last night, and he didn't do anything, in my opinion, that wasn't the correct thing to do. And obviously that showed on the pitch. And they were very, very, very impressive last night, you know, against a Real Madrid team that over the years, especially with my pal Modric in it, you know, I think Modric was subbed last night.
Yeah, he was. I wanted to ask you about that, because, you know, we spoke so often, well, for years, but during the World Cup, that Modric, even at 37, was controlling games from midfield. Now, he's had a few injuries over the last few weeks, but for him to be the first player taken off an hour into the game when Real Madrid need to get back in, maybe there was a bit of a niggle or something there, but the game, and I've never seen this happen to Modric, the game seemed to pass him by.
Definitely. This is because of City. You know, everybody were up for it, as they say. You know, they were getting after them. They weren't giving them an inch. And in Modric, who's a great player, suffered as well. I think he might have taken him off. Maybe he had a knock, Nathan, or he was taking him off for the next match, because I think he knew then there was nothing in it for them at that particular stage. They just weren't going to come back. City were too good for them. But it shows you how good City were when the likes of Modric couldn't make space for himself. And that's why he's a genius at the game, with the space he can make in lots of matches that he plays in. But he couldn't do it. He couldn't do it against City. That's for sure. That's how good they were, Nathan.
It shows the quality as well that City had on the ball, that against that midfield and the experience of Kroos and Modric and Valverde, who's had a brilliant season yet again, that they just couldn't seem to make any impact on City when they had possession of the ball. Like, for almost the full 90 minutes, they played that game at their own pace.
Well, they did, because there's two things to it. When you have the ball, when you haven't got the ball. When you have the ball, Nathan, you use it as well as you possibly can. But when you haven't got it, and this is where City were great, they gave no room. They gave no room to any Madrid player. All of them were at it. Forwards, the backs, the midfield players. As soon as they got the ball, and that's what makes the great teams, in my opinion. You make it hell for the opposition. You don't give them an inch. And Madrid couldn't get it. They just couldn't get the ball out. That's why City was so good. And obviously, when they get the ball, Silva scored the first 2 goals, because it could have been 4 or 5 at half-time yesterday. The goalkeeper was brilliant for Madrid. So that was City at their best. In my opinion, that was them at their best. And if they play like that in the final, it can be only one way.
Yeah, from what you've seen of Inter this season and watching them against AC Milan on Tuesday night, do you see anything in that Inter side that could cause Manchester City a problem?
I didn't see much, Nathan, at all in the match. I saw them winning, but there was I criticised the Premier League for players going down pretending to be injured and that, but they were nothing in comparison to what I saw last night from both teams. Slightest little knock, they were down. They were pretending to be injured. They were doing all that type of nonsense, and I wasn't impressed by either of the teams in that particular match, Nathan. And if City play as they can play, I can't see any way for Inter Milan. I don't think they have the players. I don't think they had the attitude. Well, it was the two of them were at it. They were going down, players injured, getting carried, trying to kid the referee all the time. For the 90 minutes, I thought it was terrible. I watched it. I thought it was terrible to watch. And if City play like they can play, I can't see any way for the Italian team.
It's been an unbelievable week for Manchester City. The victory against Everton was obviously expected in lots of ways, but there was a feeling that might be one of the final tests. Goodison Park, Everton fighting for their life, and Manchester City come through that game with relative ease. Again, a different player this time, Ilkay Gundogan. Unbelievable first goal, 11 straight wins. This is going to go down as one of the great seasons. There's no way they're not going to win this Premier League title, and unless they implode, they're going to win the Champions League as well.
Well, it looks like it, Nathan. But football, I'm very, very, very suspicious of football that we're going to do. But it looks like it at the moment. Certainly against Everton, Sean Dyche, played out the game. They're going to defend for 90 minutes. That's what it looked like to me. And they did well, okay, early on. But as soon as City scored, then they had no second choice. Everton. They just couldn't get the ball after that. You know what I mean, Nathan? It looked like that's what they set out to defend for 90 minutes. And once Gundogan did well, he scored he scored the first goal brilliantly, and then laid it on for Haaland, who was getting a bad time from the big centre-half. Mina, is it Mina? The big centre-half. He was kicking lumps out of Haaland, in my opinion. But once then Haaland scored. Once City scored, and Everton had no second second plan, if that's the word for it, Nathan. You know, they were defending all the time, and as soon as City scored, then they had to come out. You know, and once they come out, then City took them to pieces, really. Gundogan scored, he scored a goal, he made a goal for Haaland, then scored another goal just after to make it 3. So it's exhibition stuff after that.
Yeah.
In a very, very good way. I mean, it was a big win for City. There's no doubt about that. They were very, very, very good. And that's the week before a few days before the European Cup match, where they were brilliant again. You know, so it's been a good 2 months for City, and you know, to catch Arsenal, get in front of them, and they look like very much at the moment as if they're going to win it, Nathan. Yeah. Maybe the 2 competitions, but we'll wait and see on that. But certainly for the Premiership, it looks like they've caught Arsenal and gone in front of them.
What of Arsenal then? Beaten 3-0 by Brighton at the weekend. Brighton, you know, again, exceptional in that second half. But the analysis of where it's gone wrong for Arsenal, to have won just 2 of their last 7 games, the performances against Liverpool and West Ham and Southampton, which meant they were totally deflated by the time they played Manchester City. Okay, they bounced back well against Chelsea and particularly against Newcastle, but is this an implosion of a side that should have gone on to win the title, or is this just a natural thing when you have a City side of that quality winning 11 straight games that nobody can deal with that sort of pressure?
Well, the thing is, Nathan, you can only look after yourself. You know, what City do really shouldn't worry Arsenal. Well, not worry them, but influence them that much. You can only do what you can do yourself. But I think with Arsenal, it's been a very, very good season for them, there's no doubt. But the run that City have been on, and they've done it before, they're used to it now. They have the players to do it. I think in Arsenal's case, when it gets to the last 5, 6, 7 matches, that's when the pressure really comes on. And again, I think with the big players, I've mentioned it before about them. You know, when you get, say, the likes of Xhaka and Gabriel, I never trust them, Nathan. You know, they don't do it when the really, really difficult times come. I mean, if you go back to the Liverpool match when they were winning 2-0, they drew it in the end.
Yeah.
But Xhaka messes about. Gabriel, every time I see him, he makes a mistake. Nathan, you know, and when the pressure comes on the last 6, 7 matches, especially when you're on the run in with City, that's when you need all the good, really good characters to go through those particular matches, Nathan. That's when it's really on, you know. When there's 15, 16 matches to go, you don't have the pressure as much as the last 5 or 6 matches. And I think that's what's happened to him. I think a couple of players that he had, Arsenal have, don't live up to the pressure that's needed in the run-in. Whereas City are totally different. They've done it before. They have the players that have done it before. It's no big deal for them to do it. Actually, they get stronger as they get near the end of the season, when the matches become more important. And I see in the paper that, you know, they might be making changes during the close season. And one of the players they mentioned going is Xhaka.
Yeah.
You need all these good characters, really good characters, when it comes to the run-in, Nathan. The last 5 or 6 matches, if you're not running away with it, which they haven't been running away with at Arsenal, when it comes to those particular matches, I think the characters come out on the team when the pressure's on.
I do wonder if, when we look back on the season, how much importance we can place on that incident with Granit Xhaka and Trent Alexander-Arnold. When you think at the time Arsenal are 2-0 up, they're absolutely in flying form against the Liverpool team, who at that stage hadn't won in 4 matches, who are capitulating, and out of nothing Liverpool come back, draw that game. They've won 7 in a row, putting pressure on for Champions League, where Arsenal have just fallen to pieces. That, look, it's probably reading too much into one incident, but it does feel important.
No, you're right. I mean, I said it at the time, and I've said it all. I've never been a Xhaka fan. Actually, I don't like him at all. I think he can be a bully. He does ridiculous things at times. He's a very talented guy. But you don't need guys like that in the run-in, Nathan. You know, you just don't when it comes to big matches, because everybody gets nervous, everybody gets uptight, and you need the characters to be able to handle that. Now, City have them because they've done it before. This is the first time Arsenal have been in the running in this particular competition, and it was no. I mean, at Liverpool, it was outrageous. I mean, the Liverpool fans were turning on their own team. And when this incident happened, it gave them an excuse to turn on Arsenal. Change the whole scenario of the situation. You know what I mean, Nathan? This was from nothing. I mean, at that time, Arsenal are strolling. They're 2-0. They're up there. Look like they're going to be more. And they get this incident that changes the whole thing. There's no doubt it changed it.
What about at the bottom? Leeds got themselves a point against Newcastle. Maybe could have been and should have been a whole lot more. They play West Ham on Sunday. Leicester are in almighty trouble. Put up no resistance at all,
No.
It felt like, against Liverpool on Monday night. Do you see either of those two being able to get past Everton and survive?
I think Leeds have a better chance than Leicester. You know, at least Leeds against Newcastle. They put a fight up, Nathan. They made it very, very difficult for Newcastle, who are a good team, as you know. Actually, and deserve to draw. They do deserve to draw in the end. There's no doubt about that. And they have one guy playing for them, and he's been playing for them a long time, and I can't understand how he's in the team. A fella called Firpo.
Yeah, left back.
Every time I see him, he's kicking people. Gave a penalty away. And after that, he gets a red card. I don't know how it... Even Norris Allardyce is only there a short time, but this fella's been in the team, and every time I see him, he's a disaster area. So for
at least he'd be suspended.
I hope
Suspended now for the rest of the season.
The next few matches.
Yeah,
I think that...
He's suspended now for the rest of the season, at least. So.
Oh yeah, well that's the good news for Leeds, because they got to get somebody else, and he's been doing it all season. Every time I watch him, he's kicking somebody, and he gave the penalty away. Leeds could have won the match. But anyway, it's all ifs and buts, I know. But it's a good job he's out of the team. But there was plenty of go in Leeds. That's I think they probably will get out of it in relation to Leicester, as you mentioned, Nathan. You know.
Yeah.
Like there was a go in them. Newcastle are a good team, but they got stuck into them. They got stuck into them for the 90 matches, and they got a draw out of it. So it was a good sign for them. And as you say, watching Leicester the other day, I mean, it was just outrageous.
Yeah, when you look at a team like that, because it's easy to say they've given up, and you just it doesn't feel right that professional footballers, when they're in a relegation scrap playing at home, would give up. But what's your assessments of their mentality going into that game?
Well, it looked like a give-up situation. You know, see, they've got Dean Smith in, who's the new manager. You know, he can't perform miracles. I mean, they'd be better staying with Rodgers, in my opinion. But this has been going on a long time at Leicester, where they wouldn't spend money. They sold a player there, a couple of players, that then brought in. There was a money situation there that Brendan Rodgers had to put up with it. I mean, Brendan Rodgers knew he needed a couple of players in, but actually they didn't back him at all in getting players in. You know, there's talk now that they're going to be selling the best players. And I know during the year they did say that we are financially tight. We can't afford to back Brendan Rodgers in getting some players in. And that's what they needed at that time. I think Dean Smith seems to be a good lad, but he has a hell of a job on to try and save them.
Yeah.
Particularly the way we saw them against Liverpool. I mean, the difference with Leeds, you know, Leeds had to go. All of them had to go. Really, really made the effort. But Leicester were dreadful, really, in their attitude to this particular game.
All right, we got to leave it there. John, great stuff as always.
Okay, Nathan. Speak to you then.